We are waiting for others to join and then we'll start, Murtaza.
Yeah, sure. No issues.
Sanmitra, can you hear me? Sanmitra, can you hear me? You're on mute. If you're speaking, you're on mute.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I hope you guys can see the screen also, right?
Yes.
So let's start. Right.
Acha, we are having a mock interview session, is it?
No. I will help with resume creation, Naukri profile, and then maybe from tomorrow we'll start mock interview sessions. Mock interview, we don't have to wait till weekends. We can conduct those sessions anytime, whenever you are ready. You as in whoever the person who wants to give an interview, if that person is ready, time slot is available, someone from the panel is available, we'll schedule that. If others they want to join as an spectator, so they can. If they don't want to, that's okay. So that is how we will plan uh, our mock sessions. I'll send the details about them in the group. Okay, so very quickly I'll show you a format of a resume, what needs to be there, what doesn't have to be there, what we should remove. I'm sure you all are experienced and you have those details, but I just want to get this into recording so it will help others also, and maybe you will also get to learn something new, and maybe I'll learn something new from you guys. Okay, so before we move to Naukri profile, let's quickly go ahead and I'll open a resume for you guys. It's my own resume. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll bring it to this screen.
Iswal, this your resume is not there on the drive anymore, is it?
It is there.
It's there. Okay? I was just
Yeah.
checking. I couldn't find it.
You can't see that? I'll have a
No,
look.
I don't. Okay.
Even if it is not there, and if you want a copy, I'll share it. But I will not suggest you to create a resume based on mine, because we are looking for a job for yourself as you as anyone who's trying for admin. If you're trying for architect, then yes, you can copy the exact resume. You can do that. Okay. So let me open my resume and I'll drag it to this screen. Okay, here. Okay, Let's start discussing. I'll share a copy of this or any format. It doesn't have to be this format. It's not necessary. Okay. I'll share a link also with you guys. Using that, you will get plenty of good formats. Though it is a paid link, you hardly have to pay $1 or $2 something like that. But it's a good one, right? You can utilize that. Let me see if I have that link handy. Hmm. Yeah, here it is. I've got it. I will share it in the chat. I will also send it in the group. I hope you guys can see it. Here it is. It's not that expensive, but it's a good one. Okay. So when it comes to resume, guys, do not get into that trap where you want to show your resume of 5 or 6 page or a bulky resume. Don't do that. What happens when it comes to interviewers, HR, they have 10 openings, and for those 10 openings, they have to go through to 1200, 200 or 300 resumes, maybe more than that, but not less than this number for sure. Okay, so they will not be bothering about going through all those pages. वो कोई नहीं करने वाला है, right? So do not do that. Do not create a bulky resume. Do not create a lengthy resume. Create a short and simple and sweet one, but make sure that you cover everything. And it starts with the name. I'll tell you, when they let's say that if a person, a recruiter is looking, if they have an opening that they're looking for someone as your architect with 8 years of experience, right? So when they do a search, I'm not sure if you guys have used Naukri portal or Monster portal as a recruiter, right? I've seen that page, how it looks. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen that or not once. Search for it and you will see some images or videos that how it looks to recruiter. So they do have some filters, they do have some options. So instead of going through each and every resume, anyone would like to to save their time and get suitable resumes in a quickly manner, they use the same method, all of them mostly, right? So it starts with the name. Now if you look at my resume's name, it talks about my name. Okay, my name is there, and then my work profile. If you are looking for Azure administrator, type Azure administrator. Then I have number of years of experience written here in the name itself. Because see, if I am looking for 5 resumes, right? Uh, for Azure Solution Architect with 8 years of experience. When I log into my portal, I see 300 resumes. Now, one task I have is go ahead, download them and open them. Okay. If I download them and open them and check, that is one possibility. But the another thing, I can look at the name and I find 10 resumes where they have clearly mentioned XYZ name, Azure Solution Architect, 8 years of experience, 9 years of experience, 10 years of experience, 7 years of experience. So you tell me, I mean, even if you are there as a recruiter, no one wants to do that, right? No one will go ahead and download all those resumes and open each resume and check. First preference will be these 10 resumes. It is obvious that if they do not get their talent or whatever they're looking for, HR person will have to go through those 300 resumes, call them, check them, arrange something. That is their job. They're getting paid for that. But what would be the preference? The preference would be I am looking for 5 resumes, 5 profiles, Azure Architect Solution, minimum years, minimum experience, 7 years. So if I see 10 resumes like this with this name, it's a very simple thing and it's very common thing that I'll go ahead and download those 10 resumes and I'll work on those 10 resumes first. And if I get my 5 candidates out of those 10 resumes, I don't have to bother about remaining resumes. Did you get the point?
Yes.
So make sure you start with the name. Your name should be, for example, Sanmitra, if we are creating your resume. So your name here, Sanmitra Gaikwad, Azure Administrator, underscore, whatever years of experience you have, total number of years, total number of experience. Okay. Don't worry about that. I have only 4 years of experience in Azure, 4 years as system admin or application support. Forget that. Mention total years of experience here. Later, we'll give the complete details in resume. Okay. Once that is done, if you have some certifications, do not put all of them here. Okay. I do have, see, I have these many certifications, but it doesn't look good कि यहाँ पर मैं पूरा badge से इसको भर दूं. It doesn't look good. And every one of these certifications, they will have their individual badges. If you want, you can do this. यहाँ पर पूरा badge आ सकता है. Doesn't look good. थोड़ा सा वो overdo लगता है, right? So don't do that. Maybe your latest and the toughest certifications which you have, put them. For example, I have Azure Administrator and I have Azure Architect. So it doesn't make any sense, because anyone who's taking the interview, who's conducting the interview, if that person is knowledgeable, they know that to achieve architect solution, Azure solution architect, a prerequisite of Microsoft is to complete Azure Administrator. So if I have put this, it is bound that I have completed my administrator. So I don't have to put a logo here or a badge here. Okay. Again, these are just suggestions. It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong or right. I'm just giving you suggestions based on my experience, and when I sit with recruiters, how they work. Based on that, I'm sharing my experience. Rest is up to you. Okay. You simply write your name, your designation. This is must. This is one of the keywords what they also search for. Okay. Then this could be your whatever you want to write. Here I have mentioned that I have 5+ experience as an Azure solution architect, and then total experience of 8 years. It means that I could have 3 years of experience as a system admin, maybe Azure administrator, could be anything. Okay. I am leaving some ambiguity here. Why? Because someone might call stating I'm saying total 8 years. कोई आकर बोलेगा क्या, नहीं मुझको तो मिनिमम Azure पे 6 साल का एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए था, 6 साल as an Azure architect, right? So I've mentioned 5 years, total 8+ years के experience में, so I can manipulate it. I can say, okay, out of these 8 years, only first year, 1 year, I've worked as an system admin, or I have worked as an Azure administrator, and rest 7 years I have worked as an solution architect. 5+ में आप कुछ भी डाल दो, right? So it's up to you based on your experience, how you want to manipulate it, or you want to write clearly, you can do that also. It's not necessary to write something like this. Okay, so this is heading of your resume. Then I have mentioned my certifications. You can mention whatever you want. If you have something, some special skill, some talent, anything, I mean related to the job. Obviously here, if you are a good swimmer, doesn't make any sense you are a good singer, you can play piano, right? That obviously that is a skill, a good one, no doubt. But do we have any relevance here? No, do not mention anything like that. Anything and everything related to your job. Okay. Then basic, this part is fine. It's up to you how you change it. You can customize it. You want to give your number first, email ID instead of LinkedIn, you want to give your blog link, whatever you want, that's fine. Okay. This is the core part which we will be discussing. Okay. This has to be uh, because no one is bothered, no one wants to know where you stay. If they have a pan India location, HR is not bothered कि यार आप कहाँ से हो, right? कोई personal रिश्ता नहीं जोड़ना उनको. What they are bothered about is यहाँ इस वाले section पे. So when it comes to skills, make sure you write what you're good at, right? Because you're when you get a call or a JD, you will always realize that company has mentioned n number of things, and you still apply for that. They will ask Azure, they will ask AWS, they will ask GCP, they will ask DevOps, they will ask a bit of development, system admin, Linux, Windows, PowerShell, Python, everything they will mention in one JD. I have seen those JD, and I'm sure you have also seen that, right? So don't worry about it. What is there in their JD? You are not liable, or you're not responsible to know everything. You can bluntly say, okay, you have mentioned these 10 things in your JD. I am aware of these 4 things. Out of those remaining 6, I'm not aware, never worked on them. Maybe the 5th thing, okay, I have a theoretical idea. Here I have a practical idea, but that too in lab. I've never worked. This kind of answer you can give. But what you mention here, because this is not the JD what they have given, right? This is not the JD what they have given. This is something which you have mentioned as your skill. So if you write something here as your infrastructure as a service, right? If that is mentioned there, you have mentioned it. And now if you say that, okay, I have a little bit of knowledge, I have theoretical knowledge, never worked on that, then that doesn't give a good picture, right? That is not what is expected from you in an interview. Is it clear, guys? Any question till now before I proceed?
No, clear until now for me.
Anyone else? Anyone else has any question? Okay. If no questions, so proceed. So whatever you have mentioned here, make sure that you read about it. You go through that very carefully. And it's not necessary to fill the resume completely. Okay. You don't have to mention each and everything here. You don't have to fill this page completely. You don't have to do that. If you have only 10 skills, what you're good at, make sure you mention only those 10 skills. Okay. So when you say Azure infrastructure as a service, that's a vast thing. Azure PaaS platform as a service, it is a vast thing. So you can mention all of you know few PaaS services, you know few infrastructure services, so you can mention it. But when you say Azure migration, right, make sure you know everything about migration. And when I say everything, right, I am not talking about planning. When I say everything, everything related to your job profile. Where does it show? Here. You have mentioned yourself as an Azure architect, and if you say you know Azure migration, then it is expected that you should know designing, you should know planning, and you should know implementation. But if you have mentioned yourself as an Azure solution, as an Azure administrator, or maybe platform engineer, implementation engineer, all these are same thing, guys. Okay, so if you get anything, something like this in your JD, do not get confused. Okay, so if you mention Azure administrator or implementation engineer or platform engineer, and if you write Azure migration, then you should know everything about Azure migration. But when I say everything, that doesn't mean that you should know planning, right? Everything related to your role. Now, what is your role when it comes to migration? We have discussed that in our recording sessions. You can go through them, you can check. Again, I'll quickly just to give you an example. When I say Azure migration, uh, as an implementation engineer, so you should know how to create a migrate project. You should know how to create service ASR. You should know how to move machines. You should know how to do the test failover, how to delete test failover, how to create a VNet, how to create a subnet, how to create a virtual machine, how to create NSG, how to create a storage account, right? I It may sound a long list, but we have completed all these topics. Right? So when you say Azure migration, you should know all of these. Azure Active Directory. Now, when I write Azure Active Directory as a solution architect, so an interviewer would expect me to know each and everything about Azure Active Directory and Windows Active Directory also. Because when it comes to migration or when it comes to a merger of on-prem and Azure, you should know about your on-prem Active Directory also, right? So if I write this, it is expected from me that I should know everything about Active Directory, their planning, how to do it, licensing, their costing, everything. But as an administrator, when you write Azure Active Directory, it is expected from you to know creating user, deleting user, resetting password, uh, adding some user to some security group, accessing, giving access to some security group, that kind of uh, task they are expected from you. Is it clear? Any confusion, guys? Yes, no, maybe Sanmitra, getting it?
No. Yeah, I got it until now.
Okay. So now I've given the example for two applies exactly same to everything. As your HA is high availability, DR we already know. So when I say DR, they will ask me to plan a DR, but they will ask you to implement a DR, right? But you should know everything about implementation. You write something here and then you say, no, I have not done that. It is not an acceptable answer. Okay, as you're monitoring, if you've not practiced a lot, leave it. As your Active Directory, if you think you cannot talk about Active Directory, you will not be able to give answers, remove it. You can say that there is a different team for Azure Active Directory. There is an Active Directory team. Okay, monitoring same applies. Architecture, design, HLD and LLD, here we design a high level diagram and low level diagram. Here, instead of you can mention that implementation of design, low level design. Do not mention high level design. Something like this you can mention. Implementation of low level diagram. Something like this. Okay, I'm not saying you, I'm not asking you to copy this as it is. I'm just giving you an idea. Okay, everyone will have their own qualities, their own pro and cons. You will have your own strong subjects, strong subjects, topics. Someone is coming from Windows background, they will know Active Directory, keep it. Someone is coming from Linux background, they will know some scripting, keep it. Right, it's completely up to you. I'm just giving you an idea how it works. Landing zone setup. Now landing zone setup, as an architect, they would expect you to design the landing zone. As an administrator, they would expect you to implement the landing zone. What all comes under landing zone setup? Same thing which I discussed in migration. VNet, subnet, NICs, subscription, resource groups, CIDR block, everything. So you should know the implementation of that. PowerShell automation. Here, when I say PowerShell automation as an architect, they will ask me, okay, so you know PowerShell automation, fine. I have this much of requirement. I want you to automate this. This is what they would expect from me. As an implementation engineer, they will expect from you that, okay, we have this, this is the requirement and this is the PowerShell script. Can you implement using the PowerShell script? And yes, a little bit of editing is expected from you also, right? Let's say your architect team has given you a script to deploy 10 virtual machines in East US. You have that script. Now suddenly there is a next requirement to deploy 10 virtual machines in West US. Now just to make this minor change, do you think it is a sensible decision that you go ahead again, raise a request, ask your architecture team, ask them to create a script, they will send it to you, then you will create it. Minimum 2 to 3 days this task will take. Instead of that, you are expected that you should know how to read the script, how to edit. You can simply say, I cannot write a script from scratch, but I can edit it. I can read the script. It can be a PowerShell script. It can be your bash script. It can be any script, or it can be an ARM template also. And it is very easy, a simple English. I am sure you know, if you do not remember, recall a session where I shared a script with you guys and I asked you to create a virtual machine using PowerShell script. Right, so look at that, go ahead and read that script and you will understand it. It is not at all a rocket science. It is simply very clearly written in plain English. Location, bracket East US. So instead of East US, you just have to do West US. Instead of resource group XYZ, you have to do ABC. So in your interview, you can say, I have worked on PowerShell script, I have worked on ARM templates, but I have not written them from scratch. I can edit them and I can deploy using them. Clear? Logic app, if you don't have understanding, leave it. Azure storage, we have done it very well, so you should know it. Terraform, same thing, same you can apply as a PowerShell script. Now we have Terraform script. I am running them. I don't understand it much. I have not done it from scratch. Video, you do not require it. But yes, go ahead and have a look at the video once, how it looks. Though I've shown it many times in the training also, but designing on video, that's it, that is not your requirement at all. So don't worry. If they say that can you uh, create a diagram in video, first thing, no one will ask you that from an implementation engineer. And sorry about the voice, guys, I'm suffering from sore throat, so sorry about that. Right, so from an implementation engineer, it is not expected that you should know a diagram or you should know drawing of video or draw.io, right? But what is expected, you should be able to read it at least. If you can't read it, how will you implement something? So this is the video we have practiced this, right? I have explained it many times, that what how to read connections, how to read this diagram, what are these, what is this connection, everything. 3-tier application, something like this. So this kind of diagram in detail you will be getting. RDP, if we are talking about, if you're talking about a subnet or a VNet, if there is any connection. So this kind of video you will get and you should be able to read it. So you in your interview, you don't have to write it, by the way, but in your interview you can say that we used to get or we are getting, depending on your situation. If you are jobless and you're searching job, you are an immediate joiner, you can say we used to do it. If you say that I'm currently working on this profile, you can say I'm doing it. Windows, because I'm coming from system admin background, hence I have mentioned this. I've worked with Windows for a long time. So even if they ask me any question, including from scratch, that what are the differences between 12, 16, and 19, I can answer them. If you do not know this, you don't have to mention. But someone who's coming from Linux background, make sure you mention that. Make sure that you do mention here that you have worked as a system admin for Linux. So they might ask you a few questions on Linux, but it will increase the chances of getting selected. SQL, same thing. I have worked as a Windows admin, admin also, hence I have mentioned it. If you do not understand these technology, you don't have to mention it. That's fine. That's completely fine. And if you don't want to leave it blank, it doesn't look good. Okay. Though I'm not discussing here any representation details, so how to make it good or better, that is up to you guys. But still, if you think that this is not looking good, you want to fill in something, so elaborate this. Under Azure infrastructure services, we have n number of services. Just keep on adding them, like deployment or VM deployment, right? VM deployment, something, ignore the spelling, guys. Okay, VM deployment, VNet deployment, something like this. You can keep on adding just if you want to fill in something. This is fine. You can do whatever you want here. You can add some certification, some education, or anything. That's fine. That's up to you guys. Okay, so skills mentioned here. Coming back to roles and responsibilities. Okay, mention your designation, mention your duration, since when you are working. Team size, it's a very crucial thing, guys. Not saying this has to be it has to be in same format, but team size do mention, because sometimes what and do not type a large number. Okay, make it 3 plus 4 plus or 4, because most of the time what they are looking for is a person who can work without supervision. Okay, if you have worked in a team of 2 or 3 people, it is not a big deal for you to work in 20 or 30 in a team where there are 30 people. Okay, that's completely fine with you. But if you are in a habit of working where there are 30 people, where you do not have much responsibilities, you don't have any what you can say any uh, where the tickets are being assigned to you, and ownership of the work, that's the word I was looking for, ownership of the work. Because it's a huge team, right? You do some task and leave it, someone else is coming, they will do it, and maybe it's a TL who's taking care of that if it's a huge team, right? Then it will be difficult for you to work where we have small team. And trust me on this, on for all these openings, or if we have Kumail here, he can confirm this, or maybe Arbas, yeah, that for most of the teams you will get, for most of the work, for most of the projects, you will get small teams. 3 people, 2 people, 4, 5, not more than that. So interviewer or HR may have this thought that you have only worked with 30 a size of team where there are 30 members. Okay, and they have another candidate who's equally knowledgeable, same study, same package and everything, but he has worked individually, so they would prefer to have that candidate here, right? So do not give any chance for rejection or selecting someone else over you. Okay, so make sure you write a small number. Even if you have worked with 30 people, that is fine. No one is going to cross check with your old team. No one gives that information in your company. Okay, so mention the team size also. Roles and responsibilities. Here we have been discussing this in detail throughout our training. So make sure that you write each and everything here in detail, like working with client or project management and solution engineering team to guide post sales. Okay, you will have to change it. I can share one admin. I think it was already there, but Sanmitra is saying the resume is not there. I'll share it again. An admin resume, how should it look? And I'll share that one also. So if you want to copy that, feel free to copy. If you want to add something, make sure you add here, right? Uh, so do not look at these roles and responsibilities like preparing IRL or assisting RFP. They do not mention anything of out of this. Okay. Otherwise, all your questions will get changed. Whatever we have discussed, they'll get changed. If you write something like this, that developing roadmaps and strategies and proposals, technical outcomes and DevOps. So they will ask you question based on this. So make sure you do not write any of this. I'll share a resume of Azure admin, and you can copy it from there, or you can simply do a Google and you will see, or what you get from companies like their JD, वहीं पर आप लोगों को आधी information मिल जाएगी that what are the roles of an Azure administrator, right? And you can mention something like this, that deployment of virtual machines, deployment of virtual networks, deployment of NSGs, Azure migration, whatever I have mentioned here from in designing term, you can mention the same things in implementation term. Clear? Yes, guys, any doubt anyone has?
Yes, clear until now.
Okay, let me see, we have 10 minutes left. Let me see if I have that resume with me, admin resume. If it is there, I'll open that. And in next session, I mean the next part of this session, using same link, we'll discuss the Naukri portal. Most of the calls you will get from Naukri, so don't worry. You can update other portals also, like Shine, Times Job, Monster, but most of the calls you will get from Naukri. Let me see if I have that resume. Okay, I have one. It's a it's with domain information. Okay, but what is useful for you, we'll discuss that. See, you could add one, depends, it depends on the requirement, what they are asking for. Yeah, for fresher, see, yeah, freshers can also mention your skill set here, whatever you're good with. Mention your skill set here. Instead of roles and responsibilities, mention some training, that I have completed this training, I have conducted this training, or I have conducted as in to my fellow students or my colleagues, or where I was interning, so in that manner. Okay, or you can mention that you conducted or you attended, whatever you're comfortable with. And there you can mention that your skill set, or what you can do, the task which you're good at, and you can mention the same things here, right? But you can obviously, you can't write the experience. Okay, so when it comes to admin, guys, roles and responsibilities, yes, you can copy it from here blindly if you want. Do read, but do read very carefully. Okay, again, I'm repeating, there should not be a single sentence on your resume which you cannot explain. So if you see, I've changed few things here. Okay? SolarWinds, Landes, these are some old tools where I have worked, but I can talk about them. So I've mentioned them, right? So mentioned what you can speak about. Talking about roles and responsibilities, management of Azure subscription and resources. Now, when I say management here, it could be a creation of subscription. You guys know how to create one, how to create a resource group. It could be a deletion of resource group. It could be anything. It could be a renaming of resource group. Can we rename a resource group?
No.
Hmm. Implementation and management of storage solution, same thing. It could be a new implementation of storage account, creating storage account, or creating something within storage account, creating a new file share, creating a new database, could be anything. So same thing, implementation and management. If you're doing the new deployment, that's implementation. If you're adding something or deleting something from the existing storage account, that is your management. And you will get everything, every detail in your ticket. You can say you're using ServiceNow or Jira or whatever tool you're comfortable with. You can mention that we used to get tickets or emails or anything. Any form is fine, where you will get the complete details, that this is the storage account, this is the ID. Please delete this storage account, or please add something to this storage account, or please remove this from this storage account. Do not delete the storage account completely, but remove this file share from the storage account, something like that. Same applies with resource group, that okay, this resource group, resource group XYZ, it has Kumail has access to it, Sanmitra has access to it. Now Kumail is leaving the company, he is going to some other company, we want you to remove the access. So management like this. And creation, you know what is a creation. Deployment and managing virtual machines, I don't think so I have to explain this to you, right? When it comes to management, you can say adding disk, removing disk, adding RAM, removing RAM, could be anything. I mean, you can go to portal and you can see what all can be done with a virtual machine, and you can talk about them. Do not write everything. If you keep on writing everything, you will have a 4-page resume, which we do not want, and then you won't have anything to speak. So on this point, you should have something to speak. When you say, could you elaborate? What do you mean by deployment and managing virtual machines? That time you can start elaborating, and you should be able to elaborate it at least for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, right? And when it comes to your interview, guys, make sure that you give a detailed introduction. And when I say detailed introduction, not talking about your hobbies or your uh, social achievement. Your name, education, experience, quick should be done quickly. Then talk about your experience more. Okay, you can go through this, just read it completely. I mean, do not literally read it. What I meant, mention it everything. Okay, so my name is Sohail Khan, XYZ. I have completed my MCA. I have been working with, I have an experience of 8 years. Currently, I'm working with Ice Mortgage. I'm not working, guys. This is just giving you an example. Okay, currently I'm working with Ice Mortgage Technology, working as a technical analyst, cloud administrator. You can say both, or you can say one of these. As a cloud administrator, our my roles and responsibilities are, and then you can start reading it. Add something, make it you know consume at least 5 to 8 to 10 minutes in your introduction. Okay, give more details. And when you are giving your interviews, make sure you talk about your strong points, because I have observed this most of the time. Your next question will come based on the topics which you have already discussed. If here you talk about virtual machines deployment, next 2 3 questions will definitely come from virtual machine. And here if you directly talk about Azure firewall, it is bound to happen that they will ask you something about Azure firewall, right? So order it according to your preference. That I'm good with virtual machines, keep it first. You're good with Azure firewall, keep it at the top. Okay, configuration and management of virtual networks, I'm sure you know what it is, right? Creating subnet, deleting subnet, VNet peering, everything is here. Everything covers under this point. Migration of on-premises workloads, hands-on experience with different migration strategies, 6 hours. Now you have mentioned this, so it is bound to happen that interviewer will ask you what are the 6 hours. You cannot say, no, I don't have hands-on experience, I don't know that. Why have you written it then? Okay, doesn't give a good uh, impression. So we have already discussed 6 hours. What are those 6 hours? If you have any doubt, feel free to ask. Here it is. These are the 6 hours: rehosting, replatforming, repurchasing, refactoring, and then we have retain and retire. What are these? I have already mentioned here. Go through them, read them. Still, if you have any doubt, ask me. But and if you think that you're not able to do this, just remove it. Do not mention it. Kumail, I think we have only 1 minute, so in next session you can add. Next doesn't just we are will continue the session. So guys, this is about to finish. We'll once this is stopped, we'll rejoin the session using the same link without any break. Okay. So I hope you got the understanding that what needs to be added here, and I'm not going to explain now everything. One thing, guys, this is attended SRT for high severity incident, SEV1, and providing root cause analysis. Do not mention it at all. We have not practiced on SEV1 and SEV2 tickets, and those are core troubleshooting tickets. So do not mention it at all. Okay. So only 1 minute is left, guys. Let me stop it. I think this is it from my end for resume. We'll rejoin the session and start discussing Naukri profile now. Okay. It's the same thing I have mentioned. If somewhere you have worked for a long time, here in Sybase, I worked for 7 years. So I divided that to 2 projects. Do not mention dates here, so you can manipulate it later. Let me stop it, guys, and we'll rejoin the session using same link without any break.